What's up, guys? We're back. So if you didn't watch the last video, I highly encourage you to, because it really makes sense what I'm doing right now, unless you did. I guess you could catch on kind of quickly though. So I'm basically projecting, or predicting, I should say, the future NFL Hall of Fame classes year by year. We already did 2018 and 2019, so we're on to 2020. Actually, just 2020. Uh, you can see obviously the names I have laid out here. Paul Mall is the only first ballot Hall of Famer. I've got Brian Urlacher. I've got Kevin. I can't say his last name. Former center though, pretty good. Obviously pretty good. Rondé Barber and Ty Law. So breaking down this class, obviously it's very defensive. You can see 4 of the 5 guys are defensive players. 3 of them are defensive backs. Paul Mall is the lone safety and lone first ballot Hall of Famer, in my opinion, because he's a top. He's not a top 5. He's a top 7 safety of all time, kind of in the same range as Ed Reed. Although I admit not as good as Ed Reed, probably below him by like 1 rank. So you get the general idea of how good he is. Ed Reed has the first ballot Hall of Famer. Paul Mall as well. I'm gonna skip center for a second. We go right to Urlacher and Barber. Both these guys were first became eligible in 2018. So I guess like this coming class that we're voting on right now would be the one to be eligible for the first time. So I have them waiting 2 years. And the reason being is Urlacher was largely overshadowed during his time in the league. He was really good, put that way. He wasn't really overshadowed, but he was like, well, here's how I put it: Ray Lewis and Patrick Willis were better than Brian Urlacher, and they played during relatively the same time period. And personally, in my opinion, I thought London Fletcher was a more consistent player at linebacker than Urlacher was. Uh, I like London Fletcher a lot. I think he doesn't have the awards to be a Hall of Famer, but I think he still has the production. I think he could be a Hall of Famer, certainly. I hope he's a Hall of Famer in the future. But that's the reason I have Urlacher kind of sitting back, because he didn't dominate like Lewis did. Like I have Lewis's first ballot Hall of Famer up in 2018. But Urlacher just compared him. He fails to even really compare at all. He wasn't. He was good. He was great. Uh, but he's not like a top 10 linebacker all the time, like a Ray Lewis. Same reason with Barber. Barber was kind of overshadowed. Like, all right, so I had this idea in my head with the big 4, in my opinion. That's the big 4 corners. I used to be more of a big 5 if you include Darrelle Revis. But my thought process was it was a big 4, and it was Asante Samuel was probably the weakest link, but it was Asante Samuel, and then Rondé Barber, and then Champ Bailey, and then Charles Woodson. So that was the 4. And you could definitely throw Darrelle Revis in there. But, those were the star corners that I grew up with, kind of. And Barber was one of them, like I said, but he was third on the list, below Woodson and below Bailey. So, the reason I was waiting is he was really good. I think he has the record for consecutive starts by a cornerback. And that just shows you how consistent he was and how good he was. He's got a Super Bowl as well with the Buccaneers. Part of that great defense with John Lynch and, Derek Brooks, Warren Sapp, and all those guys. So, he's got. Actually, no, I haven't been showing you the stats, but I'll hop back here real quickly. So, Paul Rondé Barber, 5 and 3, which is not terrific usually. That doesn't guarantee you a Hall of Fame spot. Like I said, most consecutive starts by a cornerback. You can just see the loads of 16s, basically from 2000 all the way to 2012. Didn't miss a start ever. 47 interceptions is pretty good. He's also a member of the 2020 club I talked about in my last video. 20 sacks, 20 interceptions. I said it's a limited list. Over 1,000 tackles. 15 forced fumbles. It's not great, but it's pretty good for a corner. Total 12 defensive touchdowns. So that's a pretty good resume. For someone to have. So Barber certainly. I don't know. I don't know if he'll actually be a Hall of Famer as early as I have him going, but I certainly think he's got the resume for it. I just want to look to see. Okay, so he's second team All Pro twice as well, and that also helps out. So got those 3 first team All Pro selections and 2 second team All Pro selections. So basically, that counts for his 5 Pro Bowl years. That's pretty good. Usually you like to see more Pro Bowls on kind of built up there. But in some ways, like London Fletcher, like I've talked about before, not a ton of awards, but really good consistency that goes kind of unnoticed and a streak. That's my opinion on why he's in. Ty Law is a guy who's currently up for voting. He's been up for voting the last few years. You can see 5-2, so not as many high-ranking accolades as Barber, but 3 Super Bowls. 3 Super Bowls is hard to ignore, man. It's real hard to ignore. Really well. He's got two years where he led the league in interceptions. That also plays a role in all this in the the voters' minds. Finished with 53. Again, that's a really good number to have. And you look at the total touchdowns he had on defense. He got 7 interception return touchdowns. It's pretty good. Not terrific. Not as much of a defensive, not as much of a tackler kind of guy or a sack kind of artist as Barber was, like we talked about. Still certainly a very good player. I want to see what he got any second-team All-Pro selections. None. So I definitely put Barber before Ty Law, but I still think Law could, those 3 Super Bowls, like I said, play a big role in all this. And then the last guy I got to talk about is Kevin. I won't say his last name because, again, I won't do him the injustice of butchering it. But 8-3, that's pretty good. Not terrific though. Just to give you kind of an idea, Joe Thomas, who's the best tackle in the league right now, even though he's hurt, and future Hall of Famer, easily first ballot kind of guy. He's 10-6 with Pro Bowls to All-Pro selections, and this guy's 8-3, so it's not great, but still pretty good. He's been on the ballot for a little while now, but again, you can see the consistency throughout the years. And the long career he had, the unusually long career he had especially for an offensive lineman, and making a Pro Bowl his very last year of the league, kind of shows you just the kind of player he was to play that long, play all the way up to age 38 and still make the Pro Bowl. That's kind of a legendary type feat for some guy, for someone to pull that off. So that's certainly why I have him up here. We mentioned Urlacher, 8 Pro Bowls, 4-time first team All-Pro. Definitely Hall of Fame worthy, but not, not like top 10 linebacker all the time. And Paul Mall also 8-4, but for safety that's much better. And 2-time Super Bowl champion. He's got all the highlights, all the accolades you could possibly want. Ed Reed. Ed Reed was more of a ball hawking safety. Troy Polamalu was referred to more as the X factor, more of a tackler kind of guy. And towards the end of his career, worked more as a safety / linebacker. But definitely, I don't think anyone's questioning that he's a Hall of Fame player. And I'm going to speed this up a little bit again. Oh, I keep hitting that button. Moving on to the class of 2021 here. If we scroll into range. There we go. This is the one everyone was looking forward to. This is the one because, originally it was going to be Peyton Manning, Charles Woodson, and Calvin Johnson, Marshawn Lynch. But Lynch came back to play football, so Lynch isn't involved in this class. I didn't put Calvin in this one. Although I have him going in the class of 2022, and I think honestly him and Isaac Bruce could easily flip-flop positions, and Isaac Bruce could go in the class of 2022, and Calvin could go in as the first ballot in 2021. So I'm not being strict about that in any way, shape, or form. Just the way I see it playing out. I see them making him wait a year. It's just because that's just how the committee is. They're just like that. Whereas Peyton Manning is obviously a first ballot Hall of Famer. Charles Woodson, obviously a first ballot Hall of Famer. I don't need to explain the stats or the records for that or the awards for any reason at all for those guys. It's pretty obvious. Steve Hutchinson, people probably don't. Some people probably don't remember him. He was a very good player in his time as well. If we can just pull up the stats, there we go. Thank you, 7-5. So not as many Pro Bowls even as the center I just showed you. But he's got the 5 first-team All-Pro selections. That helps out a lot more because that means you're basically 5 years regarded as the best player at your position in the league, which is why I have him being a Hall of Fame kind of guy. From 1 to 5 years, you're basically regarded as the best player at your position. It certainly means something. And like I said, for reference, Joe Thomas has 6 All-Pro selections. So only a one selection difference between these two guys. Going in, I know people are going to get upset because I put Isaac Bruce over, I think I spelled his name wrong. Did I really? I think I did, yep. Putting Isaac Bruce over Calvin Johnson, but in my opinion, the committee is going to make Calvin wait because the committee is just annoying that way, and they do stuff like that. And they're going to find fault in him maybe not playing as long as some other guys and having the career numbers of guys like Isaac Bruce. And also, they're going to let Isaac Bruce go in right now because he's been waiting for a while. He only has the 4 Pro Bowls. Don't let that deceive you. He's got 4 Pro Bowls, 1 Super Bowl. He's part of the greatest show on turf, which certainly helps. But if you look at his numbers throughout the years, he could have certainly had a Pro Bowl here and this year. Probably could have had one in this year. Definitely should have had one. I don't know why he didn't have one in this year. So that's what was that, 3 or 4 more years I just named right there? You're about to 7 or 8 Pro Bowls by now. And suddenly you got a much more worthy candidate for the Hall of Fame. So I was just looking at, he's got 1 second-team All-Pro selection. But, you know, I think him being on the greatest show on turf is certainly going to help him, you know, certainly going to validate, you know, well, not necessarily validate so much as boost his, you know, the confidence level. And like, people want to put all the members of greatest show on turf into the Hall of Fame. And, you know, the only guys out right now are Isaac Bruce and Torrey Holt right now, both the receivers. Because Kurt Warner and Marshall Faulk and Orlando Pace are already in. So people are going to want to move these guys in. You know, deal with this receiver backup as well at the same time. So you move him in, and then we got Patrick Willis. There we go. I'm sorry, I'm not a guy who really type one thing, focus on one thing at a time. But anyways, you know, 7-5. He played for a short period of time, much like Calvin Johnson. I know it seems kind of hypocritical for me leaving Calvin off and putting Patrick Willis in. But 7-5. You know, 7-5 in 8 years, basically. And he only played 7 of those years healthy. So basically every year where he was even majorly healthy, Pro Bowl. And then he only missed he got first team All-Pro bids in every year but, you know, 2 of those. Now that's just incredible. The way he played, honestly, he's the second most dominant linebacker I've ever seen. Or I guess I should preface that. Middle linebacker I've ever seen. Second most dominant. Only behind Patrick Willis. Ray Lewis. Only behind Ray Lewis. They're 1-2 for me. You know, in terms of dominance. They even played like each other a little bit. I think Ray Lewis was probably better in coverage and a better blitzer. But when it comes to just chasing guys down and making the hits and making the big plays and the tackles and just manning the middle and being ferocious, it was Patrick Willis, you know, and Ray Lewis right there, both of them. Not even close. And you see also throw in this one of those years where he missed, you know, the first team All-Pro selection. He got second team All-Pro selection bid. So that just shows you, you know, how dominant this guy was during that stretch. And for me, you know, certainly what validates you as a Hall of Famer, there's 3 categories really: stats, winning, and winning includes like Super Bowls and stuff like that, playoffs. So stats, winning, and I just forgot the third category. Oh yeah, here we go. Stats, winning, and being like the most dominant player at your position. For 5, no, you know what? I'll say for all 7 years, he was 1 or 2. He was either the 1 or 2 for the most dominant player at that position. And I was unbeatable for those first 7 years of his career. And that is why he's the first ballot Hall of Famer. Because he had that dominance and he maintained it for a good stretch of time. Like 7 years is actually pretty good in terms of career length. I know we're used to seeing more for superstars. We're used to seeing longer periods of time. But you know what? I'll take it. It was incredible to watch. If you didn't get to see him, you really missed out on a real baller, man. You really missed out on something. I'm not gonna have time in this video to do the rest of my classes, so I'm just gonna quickly pull up Charles Woodson. You can see 9-3. He got a Super Bowl with the Packers, even with Aaron Rodgers. And you can see he's actually got a really good stretch at the very beginning of his career. He played well during this stretch, but did not receive any. Like, he should have had a Pro Bowl this year when he got 8 interceptions. Like, there's no way you should not have one there. A lot of accolades. Takes another break, kind of, and then makes the Pro Bowl again in his final year with 5 interceptions. Like, he's just incredible. His return to Oakland was just incredible, honestly, for me to watch these last 2 years of his career, which is great. He's also a member of the 2020 club. I think he's the only member of the 2060 club, 20 sacks and 60 INTs. He's, you know, just a ridiculous guy. Has all the numbers, was a winner, was just a great guy overall, and that's why he's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer as well.